Have you ever stopped to wonder about the MLB controversies that have shaped the game of baseball? Whether it be a cheating scandal or an umpire's questionable call, countless history stories have shaped how we view the sport today. From Pete Rose's gambling scandal to the pine tar incident, these 10 Major League Baseball controversies often go overlooked, but they actually made the game even bigger. Ensure you watch till the end. First up, why the increase in attendance? As spring approaches and training season concludes, a large crowd gathers at Busch Stadium, Fenway Park, Wrigley Field, and PNC Park, among others, to participate in a long-standing custom that includes seventh-inning stretches and typical ballpark cuisine. What happens when scandal and controversy stymie America's favorite pastime? Do people still attend the games, or are MLB games declining? According to some findings, all of these teams engaged in contentious incidents saw an increase in attendance the following season. Maybe those additional supporters were there to express their unwavering support. Maybe the increased media coverage lured the masses, or maybe they simply didn't care. Let's look at some of the most talked about baseball scandals since the 1980s. Nothing is more American than baseball, and the Major League has long been the country's favorite sport. Baseball hasn't always been so low-key, igniting fierce rivalries between localities. So why don't we take a look back at some of the greatest and shadiest moments in baseball history? Number 10 is Pete Rose's gambling spiraled out of control in 1989. In 1989, one of the most famous baseball scandals in history erupted when MLB star Pete Rose was accused of gambling on baseball games. Rose had long been known for his hard-nosed style of play and uncompromising attitude. Still, his reputation took a serious hit when allegations surfaced that he had bet on baseball games, including those of the Cincinnati Reds, the team he was managing at the time. At first, Rose denied any wrongdoing and refused to resign as manager of the Reds. Eventually, however, the pressure became too great and he agreed to a voluntary suspension in August 1989. The following year, after an investigation by MLB Commissioner A. Bartlett Giamatti, Rose was banned from baseball for life, becoming the first person ever to be permanently barred from the game. While Pete Rose has remained a controversial figure in baseball ever since, his gambling scandal did not just affect him alone. Instead, it brought a wave of attention to the sport and highlighted the need for stricter regulations and oversight to ensure such behaviors wouldn't happen again. It also pushed MLB to improve its anti-gambling policies, and it provided a reminder that no one is above the rules. Cincinnati Reds' total attendance skyrocketed from 1,979,320 to 2,400,892 the next season. No matter what you think of Pete Rose, there is no denying that his actions profoundly impacted the game of baseball. By exposing the gambling issue in baseball, he forced the league to take a stand and change how it did business. While he paid dearly for his misdeeds, his story stands as a reminder of the dangers of gambling in sports and serves as an example of how baseball can and must police itself to protect its integrity. In Rose's memoir, My Prison Without Bars, he eventually acknowledges wagering on baseball 15 years later. He continues to have ardent followers and signs autographs at a Vegas memorabilia store called The Art of Music. Rose filed for reinstatement for the first time in 1992, but his plea was denied. He reapplied in March 2015, hoping that new commissioner Rob Manfred would restore him, but his plea was refused once again. And next is the Pittsburgh Drug Trials in 19 1985, introduced cocaine into the MLB. Curtis Strong, a Philadelphia Phillies clubhouse chef, was granted access to MLB players' locker rooms at Veterans Stadium. He became familiar with several players and started supplying cocaine to them. When the truth came out, many MLB players came forward and admitted to taking cocaine. The FBI promised them immunity in exchange for testifying against the drug traffickers. Dressed as the Pirate Parrot mascot, Kevin Koch was caught buying cocaine and encouraging ties between the dealer and MLB players. After a 2-week trial, Strong was convicted on 11 separate charges, and the MLB punished 11 players. Many fans thought these trials had tainted the baseball game, and many were dissatisfied with the players they had respected and rooted for. MLB attendance was down in the early 1980s generally, but it rebounded significantly during the season after the drug trials and continued to rise in the late 1980s. And number 8, Joe Niekro scuffed the ball in 1987. Umpires discovered numerous balls that they felt had been scuffed or wiped with sandpaper, in emery board, or other sharp instruments when outstanding knuckleball pitcher Joe Niekro was at the plate during a 1987 game between the Twins and Angels at Anaheim Stadium, now Angel Stadium. They examined his glove and found nothing, but when they asked him to empty his pockets, they discovered a little piece of sandpaper and an emery board. He was thrown out of the game and suspended for 10 days. Later, he informed the New York Times that he had an emery board and sandpaper in his pocket just in case he needed to file a fingernail during a game, as many knuckleball pitchers do. It was an uncomfortable moment for Twins fans worldwide, and Joe's brother Phil gave him a power sander and a 50-foot extension cable as a present after it occurred. Number 7, Albert Belle was captured with a corked bat in 1994. The White Sox manager expressed worry that Albert Belle's bat was corked during a game between the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago White Sox at Comiskey Park, now U.S. Cellular Field. The umpire took the bat and locked it in the umpire's locker room for safety. The Indians were all aware that the bat was corked, so pitcher Jason Grimsley crawled via a crawl space above the umpire's locker room, broke in through a ceiling tile, and replaced the corked bat with one signed by Paul Sorrento. Everyone instantly realized what had occurred, since the bat Grimsley used to replace the corked one seemed to be entirely different. Belle received a 7-game suspension. Following the event, Cleveland Indians supporters were more eager than ever to attend a game, and some continued to deny that their team was at fault. And number 6, Sammy Sosa was arrested in 2003 for using a corked bat. In June of 2003, Sammy Sosa had just entered the 500 home run club, but he hadn't hit a home run in over a month. Sosa was at the plate with the bases loaded in the first inning of a game against the Devil Rays at Chicago's Wrigley Field, and he hit the ball hard, breaking his bat. When an umpire gathered up the pieces, he saw a cork inside. Sosa was dismissed from the game and given an 8-game suspension. He then apologized, explaining he had grabbed the corked bat by mistake, which he likes to use during warm-ups to thrill the crowd. Many fans were suspicious and perplexed as to why he would take the risk of warming up with a lighter bat and then hitting with a heavier one. Next, as the number 5, Kenny Rogers' smudge was called into questioning by the Cardinals in 2006. During a 2006 World Series game at Comerica Park against the St. Louis Cardinals, Fox cameras discovered a smear on Detroit Tigers pitcher Kenny Rogers' hand. The Cardinals accused him of using pine tar, which is prohibited in Major League Baseball, but is used by some pitchers to improve their grip on the ball. Rogers refuted the charge, and MLB found that the material was nothing more than dirt. Some fans remain unconvinced, pointing out that a similar streak can be seen on Rogers' throwing hand in images from 2 previous games. Number 4. The man in white scandal in 2010. The Toronto Blue Jays were accused of stealing signs from a guy sitting in the center field seats during an early season game at the Rogers Center in Toronto. The suspected fan was entirely dressed in white and precisely placed in the batter's line of sight, and White Sox players said they observed him flashing signals to Blue Jays hitters. The guy in white left his seat and never returned when one of the White Sox players approached Jose Bautista of the Blue Jays about it. The same individual was also observed at a previous game in Toronto in 2009, although the MLB has not officially stated any sign stealing occurred there. Although stealing signs is not a violation of MLB rules, it is an unwritten rule. Blue Jays supporters believed the planned guy in white was ludicrous, claiming there was no concrete proof to back up the sign-stealing accusation. Mark McGwire appears third on our list, after he admitted to using steroids in 2010. Mark McGwire admitted to taking steroids on and off for over 10 years after breaking the home run record in 1998. McGwire went down for a live interview with MLB Network's Bob Costas to tell the truth about his steroid usage, claiming that he only used steroids for medical reasons. Although attendance was down marginally, it had little effect on the Cardinals fan base. Many admirers praised him for coming clean and being honest, while others questioned his motives for taking performance-enhancing medications. Number 2. Alex Rodriguez got suspended in the 2013 biogenesis controversy. 12 separate MLB players were suspended for 50 games after being connected to the Biogenesis of America facility, which treated them with the growth hormone HGH. A-Rod was suspended for 211 games for his role in the scandal and his continued possession of performance-enhancing substances. The biogenesis controversy was one of the biggest in Major League Baseball history. Some fans felt the 50-game suspension was a joke for such a flagrant breach of the rules, while others were relieved that the MLB stepped up to make it clear that taking performance-enhancing substances was unacceptable. And number 1. Michael Pineda was suspended in 2014 for using pine tar. During the second inning of a game at Fenway Park in April 2014, Red Sox manager John Farrell protested to the umpires that New York Yankees pitcher Michael Pineda had sparkly material on the right side of his neck. Pineda had previously been accused of having pine tar spread on his palm during a game against the Red Sox, but he claimed it was simply dirt. This time, he claimed that it was a really chilly night and that he was merely applying pine tar to improve his grip on the ball. Regardless, he was expelled and banned for 10 games. Many pitchers are known to use pine tar under MLB regulations, but Yankees fans were outraged that Pineda was so open about using it during the game. It's worth noting that the aftermath of these scandals witnessed a rise in attendance rather than a reduction. What do you think this says about baseball fans and the MLB? Would a controversy like this make you want to go to the ball game, or would you avoid it for a while? Comment below. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel.